Yes, I was telling you that today we are going to define the 7 fundamental units which we are using in the SI system. So definition of
The video is blurred.
video is blur. It is because of, I think it is because of the darkness, no? Okay, no worries. Today's part maximum is that for a discussion part is there. Okay, there is nothing much to write on the board, and I think electricity will be back in few minutes. So that time, that writing part I will do afterwards. Okay, I will only just discuss with you few things. These definitions, nothing is like means you cannot derive something, or means you will have to just by heart, or you will have to cram the definitions. There is no other option for these definitions. So most of the part today I am going to discuss is theoretical part. Whatever is there, if something is there to needed to be written down on the board, then I will do afterwards when the electricity will be back. Okay, that time we'll just say. I think it will be fine. I'm going for the theoretical discussion now. Okay, I think in few minutes that electricity will be back. At that time I will use the board. Is that fine? Yes, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's wait for a few minutes, okay?
Yes, sir.
So, today what was my topic was that definition, to define the units. And in SI system, we have defined the fundamental units, most of the fundamental units on the atomic standards. Atomic standards means something related to the behavior of atoms. Why we have done so? Because these definitions, they are independent of the physical conditions. Just to keep them constant throughout the world and throughout means for each and every person. So we have used the atomic standards to define these units. Okay. Now the first one is, suppose, meter. So what is 1 meter? So 1 meter is defined to be equal to 1650763.3. 1650763.3 wavelengths in vacuum of the radiation emitted due to transition between the level 2p10 and 5d5 of krypton 86 isotope. 2p10 5d5 krypton 86 isotope. See, there is there is nothing too much to understand here. Just you will have to cram these definitions. There is a krypton is an element. It have isotopes. There is one isotope, krypton 86 is an isotope. When this krypton 86 isotope there is a transition. When the transition takes place from 2p10 to 5d5. Now again, I think you don't know about the subshells. You know about the shells in the atoms, right? Am I right? You know about the shells, K, L, M, N, shells of an atom?
The SPDF subshell?
Yes, SPDF, these are the subshells. They are the subshells inside the shell. Okay. Means, was that included in your syllabus in class 10th? No, I think.
No, sir.
No. Okay, those who don't know. Okay, those who don't know. Okay, you have started in class 11. That's fine. So you have SPDF. There are subshells in a shell, and what these subshells are, they are actually the places where the probability of finding the electron is maximum. They are the parts of the shell. Means till now you studied that electron is like a particle, but from class 11th it is not like exactly like a particle, but it is like a cloud. It is like a cloud, and finding the electron, the probability is maximum at few places. That places are called as the subshells. Okay, so these subshells are of 4 types. What I know about, I don't know very much about the chemistry, but what I know about is they are of 4 types, S, P, D, F. 4 types of subshells are there. So there is a subshell, second shells P10. There is a subshell, and fifth shells D5 subshell. When the transition means this krypton 86, when an electron shifts from here to this one, when an electron, the transition of electron takes place which electron? The electron of krypton 86 isotope. When the transition takes place between these two levels, when the electron will jump from this level to this level, it will take inside the energy, because this is the lower energy level, this is higher energy level. And if it jumps from 5d5 to 2p10, then it will release out the energy. That energy will be released out in the form of radiation, and that radiation will have the wavelength. Radiation means it is in the form of wave, and for every wave, what are the characteristics of a wave? That it have a wavelength, it have a frequency, right? So that wavelength, it will give out some wavelength. Whatever is the length of one wave, whatever is the wavelength of that radiation, you take this much time, 1650763.3, multiply to that, or simply you take this many number of waves, find their total wavelength, and that is equal to 1 meter. That is 1 meter. So this way it is defined on the atomic standards, that in krypton 86 isotope, when electron transition takes place between these two shells, the whatever energy is radiated out, you take that energies, these many waves, 1650763.3, these many waves, and find their total wavelength. Whatever length is that is 1 meter. This way it is defined now in SI system. Okay, so that's what I told you, that all the definitions, maximum definitions, will be on the basis of atomic standards now, because these standards do not depend on the physical conditions. Okay, now we have different units, like we have smaller units for measurement of length, we have bigger units for the measurement of length. This way we define the 1 meter length. Now the smaller units are 1 Fermi, also called as femtometer, and it is equal to 10 raised power minus 15 meters. 1 femtometer is said to be 1 FM. This is defined by capital F. We denote this by capital F. 1 femtometer is 10 raised power minus 15 meter. This is a very small unit of length. Then we have, for small units, we have 1 angstrom. That is denoted by a degree, is equal to 10 raised power minus 10 meters. Okay, 10 raised power minus 10 meter is 1 angstrom. The radius of atom is nearly equal to 1 angstrom. Then we have a micron also, 1 micron, and that is denoted by mu m, Greek letter mu m, micrometer, also called as micrometer or micron. This is 10 raised power minus 6 meters. Okay, then we already have that millimeter, centimeter, that we have already for smaller units. Now we will discuss for measurement of large distances. What units we have for measuring large distances? The first one is light year, denoted by Ly. What is light year? It is the simple, as it is clear from the name, light year, distance travelled by light in 1 year. The total distance travelled by light in 1 year is 1 light year distance, and it is equal to, so 1 light year, this is the distance, equals to speed into time. Speed of light is 3 into 10 raised power 8 meter per second, and speed into time, how much time? In 1 year. 1 year have 365 days on an average. Then these are days, you multiply it by 24, you get the number of hours. Then 60 into 60, now it becomes second. So this second and this second will cancel, and whatever you will get will be in terms of meters. And this value will come out to be 9.5 into 10 raised power 15 meters. 9.5 into 10 raised power 15 meter is 1 light year. This unit we use to measure the astronomical distances. Okay. Then we have Another unit to measure astronomical distance is astronomical unit. Astronomical unit, also denoted by AU, 1 AU. Okay, so what is astronomical unit? It is the mean distance of sun from the earth. The distance of sun, earth is revolving around it. Okay, the mean distance of, means the distance will be different at different points of the orbit, but we will find out the mean distance of earth from the sun, or the mean orbital radius of earth. Earth's orbit's mean radius, that is your astronomical unit. And this 1 astronomical unit means, how much is 1 astronomical unit? It is equal to the mean distance of sun from the earth, and that value is 1.496 into 10 raised power 11 meters. 1.496 into 10 raised power 11 meters is 1 astronomical unit, which is equivalent to the distance of earth from the sun. Yes. Then another unit is your parsec. Which is also called as parallactic second, or parallactic second, or parsec. This parallactic second, we already know a formula that suppose you have an arc of length L and radius of the arc is R and it subtends an angle theta at the center, then theta is equal to L upon R. So this implies L equals to R theta using this formula. Now suppose if the length of the arc is 1 astronomical unit, you take the length of the arc, this arc, as 1 astronomical unit, which is equal to this length, and suppose it subtends an angle of 1 second. I told you about 1 second, that 1 degree equals to 60 minutes and 1 minute equals to 60 seconds. So that distance at which this R, the distance at which an arc of length 1 astronomical unit subtends an angle of 1 second at a point, that distance is called as 1 parsec. If this is the condition, 1 astronomical unit length of arc subtends 1 second angle at a point, then R is said to be 1 parsec. Then this R will be 1 parsec. So here we can find out the value. That value is, we have L equals to R theta. So how much will be R? We need the value of R. So R is equal to L upon theta. Now how much is L? 1 AU. And how much is theta? 1 second. Okay. Now this 1 second can be written as 60 into 60. This is now degrees. If you divide 1 second by 60, it will become minute. And if you divide further by 60, then it becomes degree. Okay. So this is your R. Now how much is 1 AU? 1.496 into 10 raised power 11 meters. Divide that by, now you convert it to radian. Your angle must be in radian because you are using SI system. You are defining the SI system. So how you will convert into radian? You will multiply this value by pi upon 180. So if I multiply this by pi upon 180 into 1 by, okay, so I was telling you about the parallactic second. How much is 1 parsec? So by using this formula, theta equals to L upon R means the angle subtended by an arc at the center whose radius is R and the length of the arc is L is given by theta equals to L upon R. Okay, so from here R is equal to L upon theta, right? Now here how much is L? So what I told you, the definition of parsec is that the distance at which an arc of 1 astronomical unit subtends an angle of 1 second at the point is called as 1 parsec, is called as 1 parallactic second. Means when this L becomes 1 AU and theta becomes 1 second. Now 1 second will be 1 upon 60 into 60 degrees. So when the angle is this much and the length of the arc is 1 AU, that time this R is called as, then this R becomes 1 parsec. Okay. Now 1 AU is 1.496 into 10 raised to power 11 upon, now you convert this degree to radian because we are talking about the SI system, and in SI system the unit of angle is, plane angle is radian. So we convert it to radian by multiplying it with pi upon 180. Very first day I told you how to interconvert degree to radian and radian to degree. So pi upon 80 we multiplied. Now the value of pi is substituted as 3.14. When you substitute all the values and make the calculations, you get the length is equal to 3.08 into 10 raised to power 16 meters. Your 1 parsec is this length. 1 parsec is 3.08 into 10 raised to power 16 meters. Okay. So once just for your knowledge, I would like to show you that how we get this formula, that I will tell you now. Just a minute only. Just let me complete this first. So what we have, that 1 light year was equal to, so 1 light year is equal to 9.45 into 10 raised to power 15 meters. Okay, then 1 astronomical unit is 1.496 into 10 raised to power 11 meters. 1 parsec is equal to 3.08 into 10 raised to power 16 meters. Yes, 3.08 into 10 raised to power 16 meters. These are the bigger units of length, which are, these units are particularly used for astronomical observations. Now if you make a relation among them, then 1 light year is equal to 6.3 into 10 raised to power 4 AU. I am mentioning them just to make the interconversion. Suppose you are given a numerical and you need to interconvert the that units, then you can use this formula. 1 light year is equal to 6.3 into 10 raised to power 4 astronomical unit. 1 parsec is equal to 3.26 light years, and 1 parsec is equal to 2.06 into 10 raised to power 5 astronomical units. And from here you can easily see that 1 parsec is more than 1 light year, which is more than 1 astronomical unit. So means it, in terms of these units, these bigger units for astronomical studies, AU, then greater than AU, more than AU is 1 light year, and the bigger unit than light year is parsec. Means parsec is more than light year and light year is more than astronomical unit. So this was about the that your different units that we use for measurement of length, small lengths or the big lengths, very big lengths. Okay. Now let me come to that point, that how we get that formula. You have this theta, this is L, this is R. Okay. Now you join these 2 points with the help of a you join the 2 points. This one, suppose this is your A, B, O, and let us suppose that this length is D. We joined AB through a straight line and we got this D. Now for this angle, this is your opposite side and this is your base. So you can say that AB upon OB is equal to tan theta. AB upon OB is equal to tan theta. Now AB is equal to D and OB is equal to R is equal to tan theta. But what I want to say here is that if this length is very small, means if this angle will be very small, this particular, this one, if this angle is very small, then you can easily understand that this arc length and this straight line length, the length of this arc and this straight line length, they will be approximately equal if your angle would be small. You can see that here the angle is large enough, so there is a large gap. Now when the angle is decreased, the gap between them is also decreased. If your angle will be very small, like this, then this length of arc and the straight line, it will be difficult to differentiate between the two. What I want to say is that when this length, when the angle becomes small, as this angle becomes small, this D approximately becomes equal to L. So if this theta is small, for small theta, D will become equal to L and R is there, and for small angles, tan theta is approximately equal to theta itself. That you can check through your table also. That 0 degree, how much is tan theta? Is equal to 0. Now 30 degree, tan theta is 1 by root 3. For 45 degree, tan theta is 1. For 60 degree, tan theta is root 3. And for 90 degree, tan theta is infinite. Now root 3 is 1.73 approximately. Now you can see that if you decrease the angle from 90 to 60, the value of tan theta decreases from infinity to 1.73. Now when you again decrease the angle from 60 to 45, your value of tan theta also decreases from 1.73 to 1. Now again you make a decrease from 45 to 30, the value of tan theta decreases again. This value will be 1 upon 1.73, means something 0 point like this. 0 point something you will get. So this is again less than 1. Now again decrease angle and your value of tan theta again decreases. And you can see that at 0 degree, your value of tan theta and theta becomes exactly equal. So what about small angles which are near to 0? Means 30 degree is a large angle. Any angle less than this means as you decrease the angle, or simply you can say theta is small. If theta is very small, then tan theta becomes approximately equal to theta. And at 0 degree it becomes exactly equal. At 0 degree, when the angle becomes 0, the tan theta becomes exactly equal to theta here. So for small theta, you can say that tan theta is approximately equal to theta, and that's why you get this relation. Okay, similar type of means behavior you can see in case of sine theta. Sine theta, 0 will be 0. Then this is 1 by 2. This is 1 by root 2. Sorry, just a minute. Yes, correct. 0, 1 by 2, 1 by root 2. Then this is root 3 by 2 and this is 1. Now you decrease the angle from 90 to 60 and value decreases from 1 to, this is 1.73 upon 2. So it definitely the numerator is less than denominator, it will be less than 1. This will be less than 1. So it means the value also decreases. Now when you decrease the angle from 60 to 45, again sin theta decreases. This value root 3 by 2, if you will find the value, if you will find the values, you will find that 1 upon root 2 would be smaller than root 3 by 2. This will means as you decrease the angle, your value also decreases. Now again you decrease the angle from 45 to 30, your value decreases from 1 by root 2 to 2. How much is 1 by root 2? It is 1.2. 1 upon 1.414. Okay, and 1 by 2 is 0.5. This value will, when you will solve it, you will get it is more than 0.5. Means this value is more than this. So when you decrease the angle, you get your value again decreases. When you decrease the angle, your value again decreases. So similar type of phenomena is shown by the angles by the ratio sin theta also. And at 0, the angle becomes exactly equal to its sine ratio. So for small angles, now you remember this. After this, I will not discuss this thing with you again. That if theta is very small, if theta is very small, then sine theta is approximately equal to tan theta is approximately equal to theta itself. Sin theta ratio, sin ratio becomes equal to tan ratio. They are approximately equal, and they are approximately equal to the angle itself. Okay, and at 0 they become exactly equal. Sin theta becomes equal to tan theta becomes equal to angle, and they all are zeros, right? So this was about that formula, theta equals to L upon R. Now you will have to remember this, because in many cases, in most means many times you will replace sin theta by theta, tan theta by theta when we will go for the next chapters. Okay. Why we are applying this to the previous units which I discussed with you, astronomical unit and your means parsec. Why we are using this formula there? The reason is astronomical units are very large distances. So even for a very big heavenly body, also, the angle subtended here will be very small. It will be so small because of this large length. The distance of the object is so large that even a big star subtends an angle of a few seconds at a point on the earth. So it means we can use that condition, theta equals to L upon R, to measure them. You cannot use this in case of a small geometrical figure, means this formula. It can be used only in condition where the distance of the arc from the point is very large. Or simply you consider that when this angle is very small. If this angle is very small, then only you can use the formula theta equals to L upon R. Okay. Now next is about the kilogram. Definition of units, SI units. This was the topic. Next is kilogram. Okay, and kilogram, I told you earlier also that this is the only unit. Recently only that International Bureau of Weights and Measures, it has redefined kilogram in terms of atomic standards, but it is not included in our syllabus, that new definition. How we are defining, still it is based on that platinum iridium cylinder. It is equivalent to the mass of that platinum iridium cylinder, which is kept at International Bureau of Weights and Measures headquarters, which is at Sèvres near Paris in France, and that cylinder is kept at a constant temperature and constant pressure. Okay, so we are not redefining this kilogram in terms of atomic standards. So in SI system also we will define kilogram in the same way as we defined earlier. Okay, now the small units for measurement of, this is a big unit, kilogram, and the bigger units can be the quintals and the tons. These are the bigger units. We have some smaller units. Means what we are discussing about those units which we will come across when we will go through the syllabus. That we are going to discuss here. So one small unit that we generally come across is 1 AMU, also called as 1U, atomic mass unit or simply unit. Okay, this is a small unit of mass which is used to measure the small masses like the mass of an atom or mass of an electron. This is a very small unit, and 1 AMU is equal to 1 by 12 of the mass of C carbon 12 atom. You take a carbon's atomic number is 6. It also have different isotopes. C12. You take the isotope of carbon whose mass number is 12. Can I ask you a question? That do you know what is isotope? Yes, students?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what is isotope?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Same atomic number but different mass number. Okay. So this is your carbon 12 isotope. You take C12 isotope of carbon, take 1 by 12th part of its mass. Whatever its mass, you take the 1 by 12th part of it, and that is equal to your 1 atomic mass unit, or simply 1 unit. And how much will be this 1 unit in terms of kg? 1 AMU, because you will need it while doing the interconversion, while solving the numericals. So it is equal to 1.66 into 10 raised power minus 27 kg. Yes, anybody saying something?
Sir, I think it's 1.67.
That is actually it is 1.66 and so many numbers are after that are there. Okay, when we round off, we can write 1.67 also. You can write 1.66. 0.01 is not going to make that much difference, right? Okay, you can write it as 1.67 also. Okay, I will write 1.67. Now is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this much about the kilogram, the mass. Now next is the third unit, and that is for time, second. Now it is that second is again defined on the atomic standards. What was the earlier definition? It was that the time taken by a pendulum of effective length 1 meter to reach from one extreme position to the other extreme position, that was called as the time period of 1 second. But as you can know that the value that the oscillation of pendulum depends on the value of g, the acceleration due to gravity, and this acceleration due to gravity changes from place to place on the earth itself. Means the value of g will be different at a height like suppose Mount Everest, and will be different at a point which is on the sea level. So it means that the time period, the time taken by the pendulum from one extreme position to the other extreme position will be different at Mount Everest and at the point on the sea level. Though that difference will be very small, but if you calculate a time period of suppose 50 years, then that error will become large enough. You cannot neglect that much amount of error. So it means that the definition of second is we need to redefine the second, and that second is redefined this way that I will tell you in SI system, and the definition is it is equal to the duration of 91926317770 vibrations corresponding to the transition between two hyperfine levels of cesium-133 atom in ground state. In ground state. As I told you earlier that few things there is no other option, you will have to cram them. You will have to just by heart the definition of the second, meter. There is no other option because they are based on the observations. There is no calculation like thing. They are only based on the observation about the means they have performed the experiment and observed the values, and that is your definition. So I cannot tell you any trick to define to remember these definitions. You will have to go through and you will have to by heart them. There is no other option, right? So what is the definition? It is equal to the duration of 9192631770 vibrations. Now suppose what is happening, what the definition says is the cesium-133 atom. Cesium is an element, and again 133, cesium-133 is an isotope of cesium. That cesium-133 atom in ground state. Ground state means the minimum energy state. Okay, the atom in the minimum energy state. See, an atom can have different energy levels also, right? When an atom is when the atom is in the minimum energy state, that state is called as the ground state of the atom. So ground state, we have a cesium-133 atom in ground state, and its transition is taking place between any two levels, any two energy levels. Then there will be vibration. Vibration means it will vibrate, that energy will cause the vibration, and you count this many vibrations, 9192, like suppose 100 times vibration, you count 100 and take and look at the watch, whatever time it happens, whatever time it takes, suppose like that I am telling you. So you count this many vibrations, let this many vibrations happen and observe that how much time it took. Whatever time is taken during these vibrations is called as 1 second. Okay, this definition says like that this way second is defined. Cesium-133 atom in ground state, when its transition takes place from between any two hyperfine levels, the vibrations takes place. You count this many vibrations, let this many vibrations to happen, and just note down the time. Whatever time this many vibrations are taking, that time is 1 second. Okay, this is the definition of second. Okay, next is the fourth one, Kelvin, which was the SI unit of temperature, denoted by capital K, and it is 1 upon 273.16, 1 upon 273.16 fraction part of triple point of water. Okay, there is some temperature which is called as the triple point of water, that you will, this is also included in your syllabus, the term triple point of water. You will find that term in chapter, I think it's 8, 9, 10, it is chapter number 10, I think, in your second book. Okay, there is a chapter called as thermal properties of matter. In that thermal properties of matter chapter, you will find this term triple point of water. Just simply to tell you in simple way, triple point means the point at which, triple point of any substance means the point of temperature and pressure. This is a particular combination of temperature and pressure where the object, the substance, can exist in all the three states together, means solid, liquid and gas. Suppose triple point of water means at that particular temperature, suppose this is the triple point of water, then at particular temperature the water can have the solid state, will be found in solid state, liquid state as well as in gaseous state. Means all the three states, the water can exist in all the three states. Remember, it doesn't mean that the water will be half like ice and half like your vapor. It won't be like that. It is like, suppose you take some solid ice and you decrease the temperature and take that temperature to this value, which is called as the triple point of water. Up to that temperature, the ice will remain in the, and if you will change the temperature from here, then ice will start converting into your liquid or vapor depending on the process it is undergoing. Means from there, after this temperature, the change in state will take place. Up to this temperature, the ice will remain ice only, in solid state only. Suppose you have liquid water, then you change the temperature and bring it to triple point. Now up to triple point, the water will remain in liquid form. Earlier it remained in solid form because you initially took the solid form. Now you took the liquid form and the water will remain in liquid form until this temperature, and when the temperature will go beyond this triple point, then that water will start converting into ice or the gas. Similarly, if you have the vapor form, then you change the temperature, bring the temperature to triple point, the vapor form will remain, water will remain in the vapor form. And when you change the temperature beyond this T value, this triple point, then this vapor will get converted, will start converting into liquid or solid. Okay, you must be knowing, I think, that the solid form can directly be converted into gaseous form also. That is called as, I think, as sublimation. Okay, this is a term related to your chemistry. I think you must know that it is not necessary that solid ice must convert into liquid water first and then water to vapor. Solid ice can directly be converted into vapor also. Vapor can directly be converted into solid also. Okay, and means the interconversion of the state can take place between solid gas, liquid gas, any of them, right? So this is called as the triple point of water. So now whatever is the triple point of water, that triple points 273.16th part is called as 1 Kelvin. The temperature, actually how much is that triple point of water? In terms of Kelvin temperature, it is 273.16 Kelvin. This is the triple point of water. If you will take this much fraction of it You will divide it by 273.16 and what you will get? 1 Kelvin. So triple point of water, whatever is the temperature of triple point of water, take 273.16 part of that and you get the temperature equals to 1 Kelvin. This is your Kelvin definition. Next is the fifth one, ampere, which is the SI unit of electric current. Now how ampere is defined as, you take two infinitely long wires and in such a way that the gap between them is 1 meter. You place them at a distance of 1 meter and then when this current will flow through them, this is included in your class 12 syllabus, when the current will pass through both the wires, I1, suppose I, through both of them, the similar amount of current is passing through both the wires separated by a distance of 1 meter and the medium in which they are placed is vacuum. They are placed in vacuum. Then if they exert a force of 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 Newton on each other, Newton per meter, sorry. If they exert a force of 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 Newton per meter on each other, per meter length of each other. If the force per unit length acting on each other is 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 Newton per meter, then whatever current is flowing through them is called as 1 ampere. Okay, simply it will be defined this way, that the current passing through two infinitely long wires is said to be 1 ampere if they exert a force of per unit length, because you are taking infinitely long wires. So what you will define? Force per unit length. If they exert a force per unit length on each other of 2 into 10 raised to minus 7 Newton per meter, when they are placed 1 meter apart in vacuum. If this much force acts in this condition, then we say that whatever current is flowing through the conductor is 1 ampere. So this is your definition of 1 ampere current. Now next is your sixth one, that is candela. Candela defined by CD. Candela is the SI unit of luminous intensity and it is defined as luminous intensity in a given direction due to radiation of frequency. You take a radiation moving in some direction and that radiation have a frequency. Suppose this radiation is moving with a frequency of 540 into 10 raised to 12 hertz. This much frequency radiation is moving in some direction and suppose it is monochromatic. Monochromatic means a single type of color. Single color. Either if it is red, then it must be completely red, or if it is violet, then it should be violet only. Mono means single, chromatic means color. Single colored light of frequency 540 into 10 raised to 12 hertz going in some direction. Okay, and if it causes a radiation intensity, if the radiation intensity, you place a area here, if the radiation intensity, the intensity of the radiation passing through that area is 1/683 watt per steradian. Steradian is for solid angle. If suppose the radiation intensity is intensity refers to power. Okay, if the power of that radiation is 1/683 watt per solid angle steradian, per steradian. See, once again I am repeating that you take a monochromatic radiation of this much frequency and make it to move in one direction. Now suppose if the radiation intensity, if the radiant intensity is 1/683 watt per steradian in some direction, then whatever is the luminous intensity of that radiation is said to be 1 candela. how much, whatever is the luminous intensity, that is 1 candela. If this much radiation causes this much radiant intensity, किसी डायरेक्शन में अगर इतनी रोशनी वो करता है, इतनी पावर करता है, इस तरह का मोनोक्रोमेटिक रेडिएशन of this frequency, then whatever is the luminous intensity in that region is said to be 1 candela. Again, once again I am telling you that you will have to remember, you will have to cram these definitions. There is no other option. The last one is definition, the last is seventh fundamental unit is for the quantity of matter, and that is mole. Okay, it is the amount of substance containing same number of elementary units as there are atoms in 0.012 kg of C12 atom. Okay, you take 0.012 kg of C12 atom, whatever is the number of particles in that amount of that mass of C12 atom, that matter is called as that amount of matter is called as 1 mole. Okay, whatever matter is present in 0.012 kg of C12 atom, that much matter is called as 1 mole matter. Okay, this is your definition of mole. Now quickly I would like to define the supplementary units also, and then we can move on to the, it will take hardly 10 minutes more. Okay, I want you to just be here for 10 more minutes. Next is radian. It is denoted by RAD, red. The angle subtended at the center of a circle by an arc of length equal to the radius of the circle. Suppose R, this is L, this is theta. Whenever you use this formula, theta must be always in radian measure. So if suppose your L becomes equals to R, if you take an arc in such a way that length of the arc is equal to the radius of the circle, you take a circle of radius R. Now you consider an arc in such a way that the length of the arc is equal to R. Suppose I cut down this part in such a way, I took that much length of the arc which is equal to the radius of the circle, then whatever angle it subtends here, theta, is 1 radian, because theta equals to L upon R. Now L is equal to R, R upon R equals to 1 radian. So how 1 radian is defined? It is the angle subtended by an arc whose length is equal to the radius of the circle. That angle is 1 radian. Okay. Next is steradian. Unit for solid angle. Steradian, SR. Right? Now steradian is the angle subtended at the center of a sphere. Now you take a sphere and you cut a part of the sphere in such a way that it is a square. You cut a square from the sphere. This is the center. It is like this. Now if suppose this is R, okay, then you cut this area of this sphere in such a way that the edge of the sphere is equal to the radius of the sphere. Now this is your solid angle. Now how much is that solid angle? Solid angle equals to A upon R square. Solid angle, just like we have that formula, theta equals to L upon R. In case of solid angle, that relation is this one. Solid angle is equal to area upon R square. Right? Now this area will be how much? R square upon R square, because this is a square, so edge is R, so area will be R square. This is 1 SR. So the solid angle subtended at the center of the sphere is said to be 1 steradian if we consider an area, means just a minute, let me redefine. The angle subtended at the center of a sphere by a surface whose area is equal to the area of the square. Angle subtended at the center of a sphere by a square whose area by a surface whose area is equal to the area of the square with edge equal to the radius of the sphere. That is your 1 steradian angle. Now finally, the properties of standard unit. Means suppose we said that meter is the standard unit of length, second is the standard unit of time, we considered them as standard units. So what are the properties that a unit must have to become a standard? Properties of standard unit means what properties a unit must have so that it can become a standard. So the first one is it must have a suitable size. Suitable size. Suitable size means it should not be either very small or very large. It must have a suitable size. Then second is should be well defined. Well defined. Well defined means exact measurement we must know. There should not be any confusion. Well, what is not well defined? Suppose if I measure the length with hand span, suppose I say that hand span can be considered as a unit of that length, unit of measurement of length. So it is not well defined because for a small young boy, for a kid, this hand span will be small and my hand span is bigger. So it is not a well defined, means what is the length of one hand span is not exactly defined. So the second property a unit must have is it should be well defined, it should be correctly defined. It must be easily accessible. Easily accessible. Easily accessible means it can be easily obtained, right? Easily accessible means everybody can have the access easily. Everybody must know that what is the length and everybody can easily access that. Okay. Fourth is easily reproducible. Reproducible. Reproducible means that original is kept at Sèvres near Paris in France and it can be easily reproduced. We can make the copies anywhere easily. It should be easily reproducible. Then should not change with time. Fifth is should not vary with time. It should not change with time. Should remain as it is. Okay. Then should not change with physical conditions also. Next can be physical conditions that we already discussed. That standard should not change with physical conditions like temperature, pressure, etc. Okay, so these are the required properties of a unit to become a standard. Now last topic is advantages of SI system. Why we are adopting SI system now? Means why we switched to SI system. Advantages of SI system. So the first one is it is a rational system. It is a rational system. What rational means? That one unit for the measurement of one quantity. Suppose we have heat energy. Suppose we have energy. Okay, energy. Now in MKS system which was not rational, what happened? Energy we used to measure in joules. In MKS system we measure mechanical energy in terms of joules, but heat energy in terms of calorie. Okay. Yes. So energy we measured in terms of joules and heat energy in terms of calories. So now heat energy and mechanical energy, they are the single form. They are the forms of energy only. So we are using two different units for the two forms of same quantity. But in case of SI unit, we measure any kind of energy, either mechanical energy or heat energy. We measure every kind of energy in terms of joules only. So it means that a single unit for all the forms of physical quantity. That's why it is rational. This is called as the rational system. One unit for any form of physical quantity. Then second is it is coherent. Coherent means all the derived units can be obtained directly by simple mathematical calculations, by simple mathematical operations, multiplication, division. The derived units can easily be obtained by simple calculation. No complex calculation is required. Derived units can be obtained from the suppose for example we have length unit is 1 meter and time unit is 1 second. Now 1 Newton is equal to that 1 meter per second square. So there is no much calculation required. You just divide 1 meter by 1 second into 1 second. So with the help of simple calculations only you can obtain the derived units from the fundamental units. That's why this is a coherent system. Now third is it is metric system. Metric. Okay. So this is a metric system. Metric system I told you earlier also that the multiples and submultiples can be expressed as the powers of 10. Okay. 1 centimeter equals to 10 millimeter, then 1 meter equals to 10 centimeter, 100 centimeter, 1 meter equals to 10 decimeter. So this way you can interrelate the multiples and submultiples as the powers of 10. So it is a metric system. Finally, the quantities, the units that we are using in SI system have suitable size. Means it already have all those properties of the standard unit that we discussed before this topic. So here we finished the first part of this chapter, and that was systems of